Menopause symptoms can have a huge impact on day-to-day life and work. So how can employers best support those going through menopause in the workplace? Hello, my name is Jennifer. I'm the founder of Silk Helix, and we help small businesses with all things HR, people management and employment law. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can support people going through the menopause. The first thing and the biggest thing you can do is make the menopause an open topic of conversation in the workplace. It's been taboo for far too long, and that means that symptoms aren't being talked about. People are afraid to come forward or afraid to talk about when and how menopause is affecting them. Let's make this an open conversation, and that's an open conversation for all. Gone are the days where it's women's problems and this shouldn't be discussed with a male manager. This needs to be a conversation that everybody can have, and that people are reminded they are safe to have this conversation. Now, you don't actually need a menopause policy, but it can be beneficial to remind people that you do take this seriously and that you do expect that this can be an open conversation and that people can talk about it. It means people are far more likely to come forward and talk about their symptoms, how it's affecting them, and not be afraid to raise how this might be impacting them at work and how they can be helped. Because let's not forget, as with many things, how the menopause affects us varies from individual to individual. There is not going to be a one-size-fits-all fix that you can do to solve this for everybody. Talking to people is really important. Finding out what symptoms they need support with, what support they need. For some people, that's going to be greater than other people, and knowing what that individual needs and how you can help them is really important. That said, we do know there are some things that can be put in place to help people, and actually having a workforce where these things are open conversations and people feel like they can ask for them and you can talk about them makes the conversations a whole lot easier. So first, we've got flexible working. Now, everybody with 26 weeks service is able to make a flexible working request, but a flexible working request is generally for a permanent change to your contract. And for somebody experiencing menopause symptoms, they may need temporary flexible working. So allowing this outside of what the law requires you to consider would be a reasonable adjustment. Now, do bear in mind, when we're talking reasonable adjustments, menopause could be classed as a disability under the Equality Act. It will depend on the individual and whether it fits a definition of a disability, but it could do, and therefore it's best to consider these things like you would any other disability, considering whether or not reasonable adjustments can be made. And this means considering what adjustments are needed and whether they are reasonable. So considering flexible working absolutely may be one of those adjustments that you can make. So too could be temporary changes to tasks, activities, or how work is performed, which may not be flexible working, but may be looking at how work's allocated within the team. It may be looking at how somebody manages their own workload. Now, in larger teams, this is likely to be easier. I know in smaller employers, it could be more challenging as people are generally doing a wider range of jobs and there's not lots of other people to pull from. So if you are saying no to something that's being asked for, I do recommend that you take advice to make sure that you've got good business grounds for saying no to that, and you can justify why in your situation for your business it's not reasonable for you to make those changes. And what's reasonable in a big organisation is going to be different to what's reasonable in a very small organisation. Temperatures in the workplace. Now, this can often be a hot topic anyway. We know there is evidence that men and women's body temperatures are different, and therefore they experience the temperatures of the workplace differently. And then we know that once you put menopause in, it can add even more complexity. So allowing somebody to, say, sit near a door, sit near a window where they can manage their own temperature, making sure that they've got access to cold drinks can be really helpful. And so too can regular breaks. So somebody experiencing menopause symptoms may well be experiencing increased bleeding or urinary problems, which means that they need urgent access to toilet breaks, making sure that this is allowed, making sure that you can accommodate it. It can be particularly challenging, say, in production line environments, so making sure that you've got cover available for people to be able to take those breaks as and when they need them is going to be a really important adjustment to make. Uniforms and dress codes is another really common area for challenge, and increasingly we're seeing this being considered in the design of uniforms. We know that hot flushes can be made worse by clothing, in particular by non-natural materials. Where possible, dress codes uniforms should be relaxed, particularly in hot weather, allowing women to wear suitable clothing to manage menopause symptoms. And finally, mental health support. It's not just employees that are going through menopause that could benefit from counselling, mindfulness, or cognitive behavioural therapy. And we have to be careful that managers don't become or try to become counsellors. They're not trained to do so. So getting the right support to people is really important. Employee assistance programs, or EAPs, can be a really great way to access telephone support and often face-to-face counselling as well, and they're actually really accessible to even small employers for a really small fee per employee. So they are worth looking into and can be a really great benefit to all employees, not just those experiencing menopause, but it's a way of being able to support people through different challenges they might be experiencing in life, and also to support managers who may be experiencing challenges, supporting people within their teams who are going through menopause, or indeed any other situation they may be going through. For more hints and tips as an employer on supporting people, why not subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single one of our videos.